Hello ladies and gentlemen of YouTube and welcome to another video. Today is the day after we hit tier 5, which was lovely of course, and today we're going to go through the big mistakes I made or perhaps avoided on the way to tier 5. We've made one today in the hope that you can avoid doing them on your own journey. I would love to say that I'm without sin. I would love to cast the first stone, but alas, on this journey to tier 5, which took us 291 days, I think, about then, we did make a lot of mistakes. The first one, and perhaps the most fundamental, is one I would defend to the hilt for the purpose of fun, but for the purpose of getting to tier 5, doing well, setting yourself up for the end game, blah, blah, blah. Kind of an integral one. Don't choose archers, my friends. You know what? Archers are really fun. I really like playing as archers. There's just something beautiful about them. I don't know why. I don't like cavalry. I don't like infantry, but archers all the way for me. However, they are pretty tough when it comes to playing as free-to-play. And the reason for this, let's go through the archers we have available to us to start the game with. So, with infantry, you've got yourself Sun Tzu, you've got yourself Bjorn, you've got Martel, you've got Richards. Lovely. Lovely little quartet. You can do good stuff with them. Probably Sun and Bjorn if you're doing as free to play. With archers, you have Kusunogi, who is pretty good, I will say. You have Imhotep, who is not pretty good, I will say. You have Tamiris. I'll tell you what, if Tamiris was ever primed, and by Tamiris I of course mean Tomo Goes and silly me. Was ever made prime, she'd be great. She's great in Canyon, but she's a blue commander. She's never going to do much. You have El Cid, who I hate with a passion. You have Herman, who is meh. And you have Kira, who is actually really good, but by the time you expertise Kira, you're like 500 days into the game. The Kira expertise is really good, but you get her far too late to be in any way relevant. Other than that, you have in KVK2, Edward, you're not going to get him, Tamiris, you're not going to get him, and then all the KVK3 and beyond commanders. So, if you're archers and you want a really good march early on, you are locked into getting YSG. Because YSG is the best commander by a mile in KVK1 and in KVK2 is still really good. I don't think it's a mistake to get YSG, but you back yourself into a corner with archers where you really have to get him, and I don't think that's particularly good gameplay from a free-to-play perspective. Also, Thutmose is a really good commander, I think. KVK1 and 2, Thutmose will hold his own pretty well, but he is a gold key commander. He is a big upgrade on Kusunogi, I think, but yeah, gold key commander. Again, you're pretty much locked, in my opinion, into Thutmose and YSG. They are, I maintain, the best march in KVK1, but if you're free to play, you're not going to get a max Thutmose at all, and you're certainly not going to get a max YSG for a long time. So I think archers, for this reason, are a mistake. More reasons are, when you get the Canyon shop in KVK1, you know, you get the coins from winning in the Canyon, the Lost Canyon. You get Eternal Knight, which is the best infantry leg piece, and you get Shio's boots, whatever they're called, which isn't the best infantry boots, but are still pretty damn good. You can definitely craft them. So that's two ready-made pieces of equipment there. Pretty easy to get, whereas if you're going archers, you want to go for the full Dragon Breath set. The only exception, as I did, you can get the Milky Way if you're impatient, which you can get from an equipment chest. The Ian's gloves, or whatever they're called, are trash. You want to save for the Dragon Breath chest, so you're pretty much locked into waiting for the egg events or hunt for history if you want to get your archers to a good equipment level, which again, if you're a free-to-play player, you will know how difficult it is from a gems perspective to live through the game. So another reason not to go for archers. Finally, as KVK2 ends and the end game begins, KVK3 now allows us to use Season of Conquest commanders. You get the Cavalry Wheel, you get the Infantry Wheel, where you're getting Scipio Prime, Liu Che, Nevsky, soon to be Belisarius Prime, Huo, Joan Prime. You get them all. You can fight with them in KVK3. You can't fight with archers, not because they're bad. If you come back from a previous season and you've got a cross-season account, you'll see how excellent they are, but you don't get the Archer Wheel in KVK3 until, I think it's after Kingsland, making fighting with archers in KVK3 a disaster, because everyone's got Nevsky, everyone's got Scipio Prime, and you're running Thutmose YSG. Even though I have tier 5 archers, I don't really plan to fight with them in KvK3. So I think my biggest mistake, albeit something I stand by in the name of having fun, was going with archers. I would avoid this like the plague if I were you. Your kill points will suffer accordingly, and you put yourself in a difficult position. For the end game, fantastic. You're going to get yourself Zhuge you're going to get yourself Hermann Prime, Boudica Prime, all fantastic commanders, but for the beginning to mid game, I think archers are a bit of a trap. So number 1, don't go archers. Mistake number 2 starts with a little bit of a flex, if I'm honest. So as you will recall, last time when we were pushing for tier 5, there was the decision about whether or not we go hell for leather for the event. Well, I did. I managed to get first place with a 13 million power gain. My resources are now, well, they're not too bad, but the speed ups are pretty non-existent. As you can see, down to, well, not the bare bones anymore, because I'm in a very good active alliance with a load of gold chests, but they're pretty low. They were basically 0 when we did it. However, we got the flex of the thing. We now have 2 event wins to our name. The Now or Never one and the Game of Power, is it? Game of Power. However, you can probably see where this is going. I would say mistake number 2, find it, smash events senselessly. And by that, I basically mean do what I did, spend all your resources on events. I think there was a really, well, I've heard it through the grapevine, as it were, that 12 PvP, the god of free-to-play players, made a very good point that each gold head he values about 600 to 700 gems. And if you're spending more than that, or the equivalent more than that in speed ups to get it, you're probably wasting equity. If you say for different events, like for this, let's look what we got in this event. We got 20 gold heads, the epic heads don't matter, 3,000 gems, and 40 hours of speed up. So everything's kind of irrelevant apart from the 20 gold heads and 3,000 gems, which is very nice, obviously. But the very fact I could have just pushed 10 events a little bit, like come 20th in 10 events and get, well, that's 80 gold heads now I think about it. So pushing an event senselessly, you get 20 heads now, or, well, if you're fighting against players who really want to win, you'll get 10 heads or even 5 heads, which isn't terrible. But when you consider that you could space your speed ups out, because speed ups are very hard to come by until you start grinding in Season of Conquest. So it's definitely a mistake in my eyes to smash everything on 1 or 2 events. However, I do like hoarding, and again, I would say sometimes winning an event as free to play is pretty fun. It's an enjoyable thing to do, and there's a strand running through all of these things. Like we look at the archers, a mistake to do it, but it's pretty fun to do it. I'm somewhat glad I did, but I would say that the events, similar story. I would advise you to not miss them out, but mitigate your growth throughout, rather than just pushing on one event and hoping beyond hope that you get first place. Even if you do, the rewards don't really offset the incremental rewards you could get throughout. So second mistake, don't go hell for leather for events. Even if you win them, it's probably not worth it in the long run, but it is bloody fun. However, in life, there must be a yin to every yang. There must be a balance and check to every polemic. It sounded incredibly knobby, I won't say that again. So whilst you should not save and go completely all in on one event, in my opinion, there is also the problem of hoarding too early. Just saving everything, waiting for a few events and going through it. And I cannot stress this enough. The most important thing, in my opinion, is for any free-to-play account, is after you've jumped or you've done your sleeper account and got into the target kingdom, you have to get into that top alliance by any means necessary. Not only do you get the gold chests from all the players who are either playing for the first time and think, oh, this is fun, I'll spend loads, or guys who are like, yeah, I'm going to spend 20 grand on this account. You want to get all that equity from them, but moreover, you want to get the gems from the past captures, the gems and the speed ups and resources from the shrine captures, the sanctums, the lost temple capture. And you will remember, or you will see it now if you're doing your new account, that all alliances at the beginning, they all seem to have a power limit, like 600k minimum. If you hoard too early and think, well, when there's an event on day 22, I will push and then I'll show them all. Yeah, you might get in the top alliance then, but you've missed 21 days of equity. You've missed 21 days of gold heads, 21 days of everyone doing forts and giving you benefit through that. I would say that the time to hoard is after you are well established in that top alliance. And I'd say, I mean, For the first 50 days, I would say you just spend all your speed ups. Just spend everything, spend all your resources, make sure your power is as high as possible. It doesn't have to be true power. It can be, as I've shown before, artificial power. For instance, leveling up City Keeper 1 level will give me 300 power. Doesn't mean anything. I'm not a stronger player at all. And skilling him up will give me another, I think it's 300 power per thing. Same for the blue commanders. You can get an easy 100,000 power just by leveling up your useless green, blue, and even purple commanders. You're never going to use the power. It doesn't in any way make you stronger, but it does give you an extra chance of getting into that top alliance. And like I said, if you really want to compete on a free-to-play level, you have to get into the top alliance and stay there. Hope it's a good kingdom, but make sure you're in that top alliance. So number 3, do not hoard too early. I'd honestly say for the first 50 days, just smash all your speed ups, try and get runes, etc. when the temples are open, the shrines are open, but don't sit on your resource and think, I will push soon. It ain't going to work. You'll miss out on loads. The next mistake on my list is one I was particularly guilty of and really has hurt my account quite a bit. It is, quite simply, stay in a bad kingdom. So I started my account in 3259, which to begin with was an absolutely excellent kingdom. We had some big whales. I was in the top alliance, obviously, as per number 3. So I was reaping the benefits. Suddenly there were problems. We had civil war. The civil war gang from 60, with the exception of some lovely people from there, came in and started a civil war. I mean, it was great for the content, but really bad for my account. KVK 1 was a bit of a disaster. All our tier 5 players quit. I should have migrated then. I should have gone with my gut and thought, this isn't the place I'm going to grow. The people in charge, in my humble opinion, apologies if they're watching, didn't have the greatest idea of what to do, and the KVK 2 performance showed that. The KVK 3, they're waiting for Kingsland as we speak. Who knows what will happen? Maybe they'll redeem themselves, but I certainly stayed in 3259 for far too long. This is a community game, but there is a very selfish attitude you must adopt, in my opinion, when you're thinking about your free-to-play account. You've got to be in a good kingdom. Like, I'm in 3310 now. We know how strong that is. We're going to have a quick look. So we have a 7.5 billion alliance, a 5 billion alliance, and then some farm alliances, which still have big power, but aren't really comparable when it comes to fighting prowess. But we have some big players. The leaders here, you hand it to them. Like, I like to think I know the game. They know it better than me. They're pretty good at this kind of thing. So I wish I'd have come here, or maybe not here, because I wasn't able to come here until their KVK2 migration opened. I wish I'd have migrated out in KVK1 from 3259 and gone to a kingdom in the neighbouring area that was bigger, stronger, and had more going on for it. I'm not too bothered about the KVK1 rewards we missed, but the gold chest and the activity, God, trying to get a fort in 59 towards the end was a nightmare. I think you really have to be selfish and think about your account primarily. If after 30, 40, 50, 60 days in, you're realising, this isn't working for me, you can get some passports, no problem at all. You'll have plenty of alliance credits. Just get to a different kingdom. You really don't have to spend too many passports to do it. It'll be 2 maximum, which is 1,200 alliance credits, which really isn't much. And yes, you'll have to start all over again, re-establish yourself, but you do get the big benefit of not being in a kingdom which isn't doing much for you. So number 4, if you're in a bad kingdom, it's almost like a bad relationship. Realize it and get out of there. Don't just try and make it work. Don't take them out every Sunday for date night and hope that you can rekindle the dying embers of a relationship you started 17 years ago when you were both still in university and life was a lot easier before the 4 kids came along. That's not me. I'm just spitballing there. But anyway, leave the bad kingdom as soon as possible, my friends. Point number 4. Point number 5 is likewise something I was extremely guilty of. At the beginning of the game, I was spending a lot of time in Rock. As you can imagine, when you start an account, it's all very fun and exciting. You spend a lot of time grinding, especially if you're free to play, getting all these little micro edges. They were looking for R4s. I said, yeah, why not? I know a bit. I suppose I could offer my assistance. Then I got sucked in. So point number 5, do not take on R4 or R5. It is pretty cool sometimes to be part of the leadership group, but it does take up your time. And unless you have 22 hours a day to spend on Rise of Kingdoms, you're going to find that your time spent grinding and improving your account dwindles, and your time spent managing kingdom problems and sorting out other people's problems, which is incredibly dull, if I'm honest, really does go up, and the balance isn't right. If you're free to play, you've got to get every little edge you can get. And one of those edges is not having to deal with other people's problems or deal with the big alliance problems. If you're in a bad kingdom, get out of it. If you're in a good kingdom, you've probably got people in R4, R5 who've played the game for a while. They know exactly what they're doing. If you're with a good jumper group, this is far more prevalent, far more pertinent, and it will more often happen. You can trust them to get on with it. And you just be a player. Turn up for the fights as and when they come. Just trust that they have your back. Trust that they have the best wishes of the kingdom at heart, and they can do their jobs well. I would recommend against trying to take one of these jobs. It just becomes a massive time sink, and the account quality and regularity of the grind really diminishes accordingly. So stay selfish. Again, just be a player. Just be R1. Nothing wrong with that. Mistake 6 is fortunately one I never felt the vagaries of, and I was able to avoid. It's a boring one, but an integral one to the whole process. Do not neglect your farms. Here is my one, well, I have 2 farms this kingdom, 17 million power. Here is my second farm at 6.6 million power. I probably log into these 6 or 7 minutes a day. I log in the morning, do all the quests that I've got, activate all of these, send all my gatherers out. Then I log on again at night, get all the, finish off the daily quest things, if at all possible. It wasn't possible here, but who cares? If we miss out on 100 gems, I'll live. That being said, I will try and get in now. And it provides a ready source of resources. Like how much have I sent with this account so far? I've transferred 628 million worth of resources to my main account. I've only transferred to that, and I have on hand, well, you can see what I've got on hand. I think I've probably got a decent bag. Well, it's not too well stocked, but there's some in there. The problems you face on any free-to-play account, when you're starting the game, you'll need resources. You have plenty of speed ups, and then you'll get to a stage where I've got plenty of resources, but I don't have any speed ups. And then it goes back again to I have decent speed ups, but I can't get to City Hall 25. And then you plod along nicely, and then when you get into Season of Conquest, you'll find the speed ups if you're grinding barbarians, but you are missing out on resources big time. So having farms, I know that people recommend having a lot of farms. I think as long as you keep them active, like 2 or 3 is absolutely fine, but you really do need them. You're just going to run out of resources otherwise, and that's going to stop any build. It's expensive to get to tier 5, and it's expensive particularly to fight with them. Once you get to that level, or once you're going for that level, you'll need this ready source of resources, which really you don't have to put too much effort into. The amount of people I see, though, who start a farm, which is great, and then after 8 days, like, I'm bored of this now, or I forgot the password, or I don't log in anymore, it's been 12 days offline, I'm like, meh, it just takes 5, 6, 7 minutes a day, don't neglect it. It's such an easy way to get the resources you need at the cost of just a few minutes a day. No problem whatsoever, just don't neglect it, boring as it is. Mistake number 7 is something I wager the vast majority of people do the first time they play Rise of Kingdoms, and that is quite simply wasting gold heads on gold key commanders. So I knew it was a mistake. I still did it here. I just thought, I kind of want to do it. I realize it's silly. And if you click here, you can see exactly how many gold heads you've spent on commanders. I've spent 41 gold heads on Thutmose, and I got some use out of him. Like, I've got a 5511 Thutmose. He battled adequately in KVKs 1 and 2, but I mean, 41 heads on Thutmose or 41 heads on Zhuge Liang later in the game, it's no real comparison. Every gold head you spend early on is a gold head you won't be able to spend later. As far as I know, Lilith have no plans to introduce an event where you can refresh and replenish the gold heads you've invested in commanders. For obvious reasons, money, 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 money. So they pretty much stick in the commanders. I remember my first account had a Max Julius Caesar. I dread to think how many gold heads went in there. I know plenty of people with very similar stories. The gold key commanders, you will get them all maxed eventually. And to be honest, it doesn't matter. Once you get to a stage where you've got Thutmose maxed, he's never going to be used. Okay, they're doing the new stuff now with the museum, which is something I really like, actually. I think it's a really nice and effective addition to the game. So Martel, Alexander might get more use out of them, but you know who's better than Martel and Alexander with 20 relics? Yeah, just Luce. And do you know what's the difference between spending a gold head on Luce and spending one on Alex? Nothing. So, simply put, I would just avoid putting any gold heads into gold key commanders. I would also stretch that for the KVK1 and KVK2 commanders, the exception being YSG. Some people say he's still excellent, some people say it's a mistake to put gold heads in him. I think he's still pretty good. In KVK 3 and 4, maybe not 5, you still get a lot of usage out of a maxed YSG, especially when the museum comes. This double relic buff gives him big ol' skill damage boost when paired with Zug, etc, etc. I'd say YSG and possibly Alex, who is now part of a meta march with Liu Che. I mean, he's still not as good as Skippy, but he's okay. So Alex and YSG, you can be forgiven for putting heads into them, but everything else I would just avoid like the plague. There's no need to spend gold heads in them. Okay, it's fun to be relevant in KVK 1 and 2, which is why I did YSG, but if you're thinking on a broader level, the best gameplay decision is just wait. Just wait until KVK 3. Nevsky comes out, Scipio, Liu Che, Zug comes out, and you'll be like, oh yeah, I really wish I didn't have a YSG maxed, or okay, maybe not YSG, I really wish I didn't have a Chow Chow maxed. I'd really like to have Nevsky Joan now. Because Nevsky Joan, they're not just good for KVK3, they're good for KVK3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, etc. Whereas, I don't know, Cao Cao and Genghis are good for KVK2 and 1 exactly. Obviously not 1 for Genghis. So, gold key commanders, I know we all know this, but it's worth pointing out just in case anyone particularly new to this is watching, you will get your gold key commanders all maxed. And when you do, you'll be like, meh, they're useless. So don't put gold heads in them. Save your universals. They are precious, my friend, precious. For mistake number 8, we are going to start in the mightiest governor screen, and the perceptive amongst you can probably work out where this is going. So mistake number 8, and a big one, which I see a lot of people who are free to play doing, they get caught in the mightiest governor event trap. I would say the best thing to do for a free to play player pretty much throughout the duration of the game is just pretend mightiest governor isn't a thing. You really, really, really do not need the commanders. Like, we look at who you get. El Cid, trash. Martel, yeah, he's pretty good early on, but you're not going to be able to max him without doing gold heads. Big mistake. So we don't really care too much about that. KVK2 commanders, Genghis, Constantine, Tamiris. If your kingdom is relying on a free-to-play player to rally with Genghis, Tamiris, or garrison with Constantine, your kingdom has a lot of problems. You don't need them. Constantine's good in Canyon, exactly. He's a really good garrison in KVK2. He's the best, but you'll have a load of cross-season players who've got Constantine. You just don't need him. Tamiris, Genghis, forget about them. Even as we go later in the game and we go into the... hold on. Wait 2 seconds and I'll show you what we've got in the late game for those of us who haven't got to SOC yet. Mightiest Governor events. So here we have the Season of Conquest guys you can win for the Cavalry Mightiest Governor event. Justinian needs to be a rally lead. Ziska, you need to be a garrison lead. Bertrand, Jadwiga, Chandragupta, didn't even know it was a commander. Attila, some efficacy to Attila, but again, it's rally or garrison lead in specific situations. Genghis, obviously not. So everything here is geared towards rally and garrison leads. I have a horrible bit of news for anyone hoping to do that on a free-to-play account. You're not going to be able to do it. You have to have maxed crystal tech, or maybe not maxed, but you have to have very good crystal tech in Season of Conquest to even be considered for a garrison or rally lead in your account. Would need to be 3.5, 4 years old to have the requisite VIP and equipment. You're just not going to do it. Let's not split hairs here. So getting caught in the MG trap is a big thing. You don't need to waste speed ups going for your troop training. You don't need to kill barbarians and waste all your AP like they're going out of fashion. You don't need to go rogue on the kill event day and get yourself zeroed for 30 El Cid heads. It's just pretend Mightiest Governor doesn't exist throughout the game. It's of no use to free-to-play players. In fact, the commanders you're going to get are from the wheel. However, the wheel brings its own problems. For point number 9, we're going to stay in Season of Conquest. Okay, it's a bit late game for the purpose of this, but it perhaps exemplifies the point better. I would say a big mistake that so many players make is spending gems on the wheel. And what do I mean by that? Well, if you want to get a new commander like all these fantastic open field commanders for cavalry, you've got to spend gems to unlock them. And you know what? You have to do that. There's no way around it. If you want Takeda, you've got to spend gems to unlock him. It'll probably cost you, well, I have Takeda, I believe, but that point is still there. You hope to get a bit lucky. If you do 10 spins, you'll be guaranteed 5 heads. If you can pick up 5 heads along the way, fantastic. You've spent less than 7,200 gems and unlocked him. You're probably going to spend about 10k to 15k gems to unlock a new commander. And then it is tempting, very tempting, as I get rid of the... No, I can leave it there. Very tempting to go on. 5 legendary commander heads for this, 10 for this, 10 for this, 15 for this. It seems like a good way to spend gems. However, gems are at an absolute premium for all free-to-play players. Let's go back and see what it's like on my free-to-play. So I have the princely total of 21,154 gems. So by my reckoning, I probably get 1 commander only from the wheel. However, I do not want to spend more gems than that on the wheel. Any gems I have left over, and this is kind of a broader thing, I was going to put its own point, but we can put it in here. Any gems you have, you should really save for the More Than Gems event, and you should make sure, where possible, they go into VIP until you hit VIP 14. You definitely need to get VIP 10, you definitely need to get VIP 12. Why, I hear you ask? Well, VIP 10 gives 1 gold head a day, 12 gives 2 a day, 14 gives 3 a day. So it's kind of like the old Oxfam adage. If you give a man a fish, he'll eat for the day. If you teach a man how to fish, he'll eat for life. So if we spend gems on the wheel, we'll get some more heads now, but then we're still stuck at VIP 9, waiting for free VIP points. We can level up, level up, level up. If you get yourself to VIP 10, 12, and 14 early, you get that extra gold head income early on. And as long as you've unlocked the commander, you're able to save gems and gold heads in the long run, because you're able to make sure that the gold heads you do accrue can be spent on the commanders you've unlocked, rather than spending gems for gold heads directly in the wheel. And of course, you can spend the gems elsewhere as well, such as on the egg event, which is excellent. Make sure you get to level the 10 chest each time in the egg event, because it's fantastic at giving you 5 pieces of blueprints. And the Hunt for History event, for instance, I make sure I do every second Hunt for History event, so let all the hammers accrue for one, and then I go for the next one and get to the first iconic floor, whatever it's called. And the reason I'm able to do that, I do farm some gems when I can be bothered, but is that I just ignore the wheels. I unlock commanders I need. So far on this account, I unlocked YSG, I unlocked Richard for purely Season of Conquest barb chaining purposes. I will unlock Nevsky, probably, or Huo and Joan of Arc. Then I'll unlock Zhuge Liang, probably Herman, and that'll probably be it actually, maybe Luce as well, and then I'll just stick there. And every gold head that goes into them will come from events or from VIP every single day. So make sure, in my humble opinion, that your gems, A, you wait till More Than Gems Day to spend them, and B, you spend them on VIP until you get to 14. You can push your castle like I did early if you want to get a really quick tier 5, but if you're fighting with tier 5 troops with Thutmose with decent gear, it's not going to go as well than if you took a bit of a longer route, a more circuitous route, and your tier 5 journey is delayed, but when you get to tier 5, you've got strong commanders with strong equipment. The way to do that is by making sure you don't spaff all your gems away on the wheel. I hate the wheel. Point 10, and this could be somewhat of an anticlimax, but I think it's really important here. Like, there's 2 ways your account goes downhill on Rock. Number 1, you make a load of mistakes that we've been through already. You perpetrate these, spend gems poorly, you don't save, you don't run forts and get tier 5 with any degree of earliness, and you just, you can't keep up with the power, and you're kind of struggling to get on an even keel throughout. Or you can forget it's a game, burn out, get bored, quit. If you quit, it's like if you don't go to the gym. You can have a membership to the best gym ever, but if you don't go, there's no point. If you practice all these wonderful, wonderful theories and you implement everything well and you've got the most min-max optimized free-to-play account, it's great. It's not great if you treat it like a job, as sometimes I did, and lose interest. I mean, look at this. We've had 294 days on this account. That's 10 months. You know what? 10 months is a very long time. And it's only because, in my opinion, I do remember that it is a game. It's meant to be fun. I do have fun playing this account and this game in general, that I'm able to still be playing. Were I to be taking it too seriously, and this was everything for me, like a little mistake kills me. I've made some big mistakes. I'd probably have quit by now. I'm genuinely surprised I'm still playing. And I like to think it's because I do have the attitude that this is a game. If things go badly, if you get stuck in a Lost Kingdom trash-talking battle with people, you let it get to you, you lose a KVK, you go to bed thinking, oh, it's terrible, I hate this, I never want to play it ever again. You probably haven't got quite the right mental setup to deal with the vagaries of a zero-sum game like this. I mean, zero-sum in the sense that when you're in KVK, if you're winning, the enemy kingdoms are losing. So if you're having a good time, they're having a bad time. If they're having a good time, you're having a bad time. So zero-sum. If you can, or as Kipling says, like to take triumph and disaster as two sides of the same coin. I can't quote Kipling. I probably shouldn't have brought him up. I think it's a lot more forgiving in the long run. So do all these things, take it seriously to a degree which you're comfortable with, but don't get mad. If you make a mistake, it's not the end of the world. In fact, we're going to finish this video, which I hope you've enjoyed, on a big mistake I made on stream, which I like to think I reacted to quite well. It's, you know, I've talked about making sure all the gems are spent wisely, making sure you get every last piece of value out of all the gems. Sometimes I don't do that. Sometimes it's quite funny. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this 10 biggest mistakes for free-to-play players in Rock. Completely subjective list. Obviously, there's loads more we could have. Focusing too much on kill points early on. Focusing not enough on kill points early on. Not running enough forts. The list goes on. I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but the list will definitely go on. I've got a list of like 16 I wrote down. But 10's a nice number for a video. I will end with big mistakes I made. Hope you get a laugh out of my misfortune. Most people often do. I shall see you for the next video. Thanks to everyone for supporting me so far. Greg out. Okay, people of YouTube, it's the tier 5 push. Oh, it's all gone to pot. I gemmed it by mistake. Rip 5k gems.